Yes, my dear learners, good morning. How are you doing? Let me hope that everything is moving on well. This is our lesson number 28. As usual, we start with our word bank. I think you know my name. All right, that's good. Okay, let us get started with our words. There are always 9 words. We are going to start with this one. And what is this word here? This word is read as re. Then this is ta. Then the word becomes rectum. Yes, this is the word rectum. So this rectum is the part of a digestive system and next to the vent or next to the anus, and its work is to store undigested food, which you call feces, before ingestion takes place. Then again, we have what we call constipation. Let us talk about this one briefly. Constipation, this is when you feel a lot of pain when you are passing out feces. What causes this constipation? When the food stays for a longer period of time in this rectum, because it's part of the colon, the water it is having is going to be removed. So the more time it spends in the colon, then the more water it is losing, being absorbed into the bloodstream. So it becomes harder. That's why we get a constipation. So this is our first word, or the last word, the 9th word, rectum. So we come to this word. This word is reversible, whereby some members make a mistake when it comes to writing this word reversible. Agaba, you have this whereby you write S-A-B. No, this is wrong. It is S-I-B-L-E, reversible. So all changes that are reversible, we call them physical changes. For example, the melting, actually changes in the states of matter: melting, evaporation, condensation, sublimation, deposition, condensation, and so on. So all physical changes are reversible, meaning that they can go back to their original state simply because they don't make a new substance. See, are we there? Now we have this other word. This is te, then this is sound, this is tha, then the word becomes a tethering. Alright, so tethering is it's a method of grazing. Actually, it is a rotational grazing where an animal is tied on a peg using a rope. So we can tie the rope within the horns or on the around the neck or on the leg. Then this rope is tied onto a tray or a peg. That is a tethering. So it's rotational grazing. So the word is a tethering. We've said this is rectum, this is reversible, this is tethering. Now we have this word here, diaphragm. Oh, this is diaphragm, and this diaphragm is the part of our respiratory system, and this diaphragm is made up of diaphragm muscles. These diaphragm muscles, and these diaphragm muscles have a big role when it comes to inhalation, and this inhalation is same as breathing in. So these muscles undergo what we call a contraction to make the diaphragm flattened, to increase the thoracic volume, as we discussed in the previous lessons, in order to lower the pressure so that the air outside enters our lungs. And some members fail to write this word diaphragm. Instead of this G, they put H. No, that's wrong. So the word is diaphragm. It separates the chest cavity from the abdominal cavity. The word is diaphragm, as in you are writing the word diagram. So diagram has GR, then instead of this GR we have PH, then diaphragm. Okay, so I think you've understood this. So we have this other word, a rhizome. This word is a rhizome. What do you remember about rhizomes? We said ginger. Do you remember ginger? We talked of canaliri, we talked of zoysia grass, we talked of turmeric as being rhizomes. What are these rhizomes? Remember, we said a rhizome, it is an underground stem. If it is an underground stem, how does it grow under there? It is growing horizontally. Therefore, we defined a rhizome in our previous lessons as an underground, as a horizontal underground stem. So the word is rhizome. Now we have this other next word. What's this? This is do, then sing. Then when you combine do and sing, you get dozing. Yeah, dozing. And dozing, when we look at cattle keeping, this is a method of deworming. Remember, when we are carrying out deworming, we are killing what we call internal parasites. So dosing, this is when we give these animals solid medicine in order to kill internal parasite. See? Now this other word here, what's this word? It is a rhizome. So it is a shortcut of rejuminancy. It is the shortcut of the word rejuminancy. Remember we said rhizomes, examples of rhizomes, we have beans, we have soya, we have ground nuts, and we have also the peas. And we say that these rhizomes, we call them rhizomes simply because they have small swellings on their roots, and these small swellings are what we call the root nodules. Therefore, my dear learner, a rhizome or rejuminance plant or crop, that's a crop with the root nodules. And we say that these root nodules have a bacterium, and this bacterium is called the rhizobium. It's called what? Rhizobium. That helps to fix nitrogen in form of nitrates. Nitrogen from the atmosphere in form of nitrates. So those are the rhizomes, and the word is rhizome. Secondly, second last, we are having this word alveoli. So alveoli, it is same as what we call air sacs. Yeah, it is same as what we call air sacs. And these air sacs, this is where gaseous exchange takes place. And remember we said that these gases to exchange from the alveoli, suppose this is our alveoli, then this is the air sac, oxygen is coming, fresh air, then here we are having a blood vessel. Now this blood vessel has blood, it has blood, red blood cells, and now these red blood cells that are coming from a blood vessel which is called the pulmonary artery, because that is the artery onto the heart which is carrying the oxygenated blood to the lungs. Now this part here, it is having the oxygenated blood. Now when this oxygen reaches here, now here, this part here, we are going to have the blood vessel called the capillary. Now when this blood reaches here, it's now going to release carbon dioxide to the air sac. Then the oxygen within the air sac is now going to be released into the blood. So this is what we call gaseous exchange, and is occurring by the process called diffusion. And now this one is the pulmonary artery, this is the capillary. Now here we are having what we call the pulmonary vein, because now it is that one which is returning blood from the lungs back to the heart, and there are 4 of them. 2 from the left lung, 2 from the right lung. There are 4 of them. Now when we look at this capillary, remember we said blood capillaries are the smallest blood vessels, and the work of capillaries is to connect an artery to a vein. So in between here we are having blood capillary. So that is the air sac or the alveoli. One is called the alveolus. Very good. Okay, now we have this last word here, pseudopodia. And in previous sessions we discussed an organism that uses pseudopodia to move. Pseudopodia, and this is an amoeba. So amoeba, they use the pseudopodia to move. So they have the ectoplasm, endoplasm, then they have the contractile vacuole for excretion, the food vacuole for food digestion, and also the nucleus. So they use pseudopodia to move, and they reproduce by means of binary binary fission. So they are under the protozoan class, and they are unicellular. So these ones, they match with the Eungellena, they match with the Paramecia, they also match with the Hydra. My dear learner, our word bank has been rhizome, alveoli, pseudopodia, dosing, rhizome, diaphragm, tethering, reversible, rectum. Alright, thank you for moving with me once again, my dear learner. Thank you for loving Jackie. I love you so much. All of you over there, my dear parents, thank you for supporting us. Thank you for choosing a good choice schools. In God we trust. Alright, now let us go and see the diagram for today. Now this diagram is not new because we discussed it in the previous lessons, where we are looking at classification of flowering plants. We looked at very many things, and under those very many things we looked at stems, right? And we said that these stems are classified into 2. We have what we call the aerial stems and the underground stems, whereby under the aerial stems we said we have the weak stems and the upright stems, the erect stems, whereby the weak stems we said those ones, they are also called the climbing stems, which can climb using the tendrils, which can use hooks, and others can use hooks, and others we said they can use what we call they can creep or train around. And where do they climb? In order to get enough sunlight and also to get a support. Now under erect stems, here we looked at it, we said they're upright, like the trees, the cassava, the michungwa, the pawpaws, the yucca fruits like beans, all those ones, they have upright stems, so they are area stems but erect, upright. Then underground stems, we said these ones are found in the soil. Why? They are found in the soil and we are calling them stems. Why? We say they have what we call scaly leaves, and these leaves are attached onto the stems. We said they have buds, and there are stems with buds, and also that's what made them to be called stems. And we said these underground stems are of 4 types. We have the stem, the bulb class, we have the stem tuber, we have the stem tubers, and again we have what we call the rhizomes, then the combs, the cocoyams, amayuni. Now here we are having a sense diagram. This diagram is showing us a stem, and which type of stem this is. So this is an underground stem, so it is an underground what stem. And which class of underground stem this is? It is a stem tuber. Why is it a stem tuber? It is storing food in its underground what? Underground stem. So which underground stem this is? It is an Irish potato, Now if this, and apart from this one, it matches with what we call white yams. So there are only 2 examples of stem tubers. Now let us talk about the method of propagation. Here we are seeing it being propagated. So we say the propagation, that is the way how a plant is grown. So that's the way how plants or crops are grown. Now how is this Irish potato grown? So this Irish potato is grown by means of stem tube. I think you are seeing the stem itself sprouting out. And which type of reproduction this is? It is what we call asexual reproduction, or asexual propagation, or asexual reproduction. And which asexual reproduction this is? It is what we call the vegetative propagation. And this vegetative propagation, it is natural vegetative propagation. Now, as we discussed in our previous lessons about reproduction, now if we try to take this Irish potato here, it has these things here. Now these things, this is what we call the axillary bud, or the lateral bud. Bud means eye, lateral means side, so the other side, and this is what we call the scale or the scaly leaf protecting this one. Now when you look at this, this is the stem, so we eat the stem, it is a stem tuber, and it is storing food, and the class of food being stored here, it is the carbohydrate. Now this one is not germinating, but it is doing what we call sprouting, because it's not a seed. Seeds are the ones to germinate, then these ones, they do what we call sprouting. Now as the sprouts, this one is growing into a shoot system, so the lateral bud is then growing into a shoot system, then this one protecting that. Now as it is sprouting, when you look at this Irish, let me change the color here. Now when you look at this Irish here, this one is not good. Let me get another color here. Should we use this one? Now when you look at this, these are the new shoots, these are the new shoots, but these new shoots are coming from where we had what we call the lateral buds, Now when you look at these new shoots, they are having the root system. Now they are having these roots, so these roots are what we call the adventitious roots. What does this mean? It means that these roots are not coming from the radicle. Remember, when seeds do germinate, they are having the radicle, then this radicle is going to make either a taproot system or the fibrous root system. Then this one, these other roots that are developing from a part of a plant instead of the radicle of a seed, then these roots are called adventitious roots. So these ones are adventitious roots. This is the shoot, then this one is the stem storing the food. All of this one is a stem tuber. How was it propagated? By means of of planting the stem tube. Apart from this Irish potato, we also have what we call the white yams, and this is showing us what we call vegetative propagation, meaning that a plant is being grown using a part of it instead of seeds. My dear learner, have you understood this diagram for today? So it is an Irish potato, it is underground stem, it is a stem tuber storing food in a stem. So the part of Irish we eat is the stem, and the food we get from it, the food value is the carbohydrate. So this has been our science diagram for today. Okay, let us go and see what we are having. All right, so what are you seeing on the screen there? You are seeing certain things, and now the heading is telling us cattle, parasites and diseases. So we have the word cattle. What does this word cattle mean? So this is the group of cows, collection of bulls. We have bullocks obulumoto. Then we have the heifers, these female ones that are not yet calved. Then we have also the calves themselves. Then we have also the oxen or the oxen. Now that is what we mean by cattle. Then when we look at these cattle or these cows, bulls and so on, they have what we call pests. They have pests, but remember, when you go back at crop growing, we know that pests, these are the things that destroy farmers' crops, meaning that these pests in cattle, they are also called parasites. They are also called what? Parasites. They are called parasites. Are you there? Right. Now, what is a parasite? What is a parasite? So a parasite tries to resemble a vector when we got back to vectors, but now this parasite stays all over there. Now this parasite is a living organism. Yes, are we there? So it is a living what? Organism. That does what? That depends on other living organism for support or for shelter and food. But it causes harm to it, causing harm to that organism. So a parasite is a living organism that depends on other living organisms for food and shelter, causing harm to them. A parasite is a living organism that depends on other living organism for food and shelter, causing harm to them. Now that living organism which is being depended on is what we call a host. So the opposite of a parasite is a host. For example, if this is our cow, now this cow has a parasite depending on it. Now this one becomes the parasite, then this cow becomes a host. But the bad thing of a parasite, it is causing harm to this animal. Which harm? It can be a disease, it can be discomfort, there can be wounds, even it can be anemia, because they can depend on that food or the blood. Then as the blood is taken, then the animal's blood is going to get reduced, then the animal results into what we call anemia, that condition whereby an animal or an organism is lacking enough blood. Have you understood the definition and the effects, how harmful these parasites are? They can spread diseases, they can transmit diseases to the animal, then they can cause discomfort to animals, then they can bring wounds. If you have ever seen animals, especially cows, where when they have kawawa, those are house flies. Now those house flies, they are there on the wounds, then the animal is ever using the switch, that is that last end of a tail, switch, and even it can switch, it can twitch, the skin can twitch. Twitching, that is when the skin is shaking, then it is twitching, meaning that it is trying to shake to chase away the house flies. They are causing discomfort to them, then they can cause wounds onto that animal, then the animal can be anemic, the animal can get diarrhea, even the animal can get what we call stunted growth, can be stunted, cannot grow. Okay, those are parasites. But now these parasites, we classify them into classes, and there are two groups of parasites. One, we have what we call the internal parasites. We have the internal parasites, and also there is what we call the external parasites. So internal and external parasites. Now these external parasites, they are also called the ectoparasites, whereas these internal parasites, they are also called endo. Oh, they are called endo. Endo parasites. So not internal. No, they are called endo. These are they are called ectoparasites. Now, what are these external parasites? Let us first understand what are these external parasites. Now, these external parasites are those living organisms that feed from outside the body of a host. I think when I say a host now you understand. Omuchaza. So excuse me. And external parasites external parasites are those parasites or organisms that feed from outside the body of a host. When I say a host, I think you understand that, right? Now, examples are these ones you are seeing. We are having the ticks. I think you can see the tick. This one is the tick. Now, this is also a tick. Then we have the louse. When they are very many, that is the lice. We have fleas. Fleas. Then mites. Then we have fleas obulolo. Obulolo. Now we have also the mites. Then we have also flies, like the sese flies. Sese flies. Then all these ones are external parasites. The ticks, the louse, the fleas, the mites, the sese flies. They all feed from outside the body of that animal. Now, these parasites, as we've said, they cause harm. They are very dangerous to these animals. How do you think, how best should we control these external parasites? How should we control the external parasites? Now, these external parasites can be controlled in very simple ways. One, we should spray animals using acaricides. This word must be there. Acaricides. Why should we put the word there? This word means the chemicals that we use to kill external parasites. So we should spray. What should we use to spray? We can use a sprayer, and that spray is called a knapsack sprayer. That one which you cover the back, then you keep on as like that. So that this is a knapsack a knapsack sprayer. Number two, we can also dip. Dipping these animals in acaricides put in a deep tank. So dipping, it means we can construct let me get another one here. To dip, it means that you can construct a deep tank. This is maybe let me draw this one. A deep tank has steps. Now, then here like this, then like this, and it is housed. It is housed. It's a room. Then you make these animals or to just now inside here you fill this tank with chemicals, and now these chemicals are what we call the acaricides. Now you line up these animals, then you chase them, then they enter inside here. They're like swimming, then they come out from this way. The whole body is immersed in the acaricide. Then every part of the body has obtained the acaricide. So actually dipping is the best method of controlling the external parasites, because every part of the body gets the chemicals. Now once the ticks are there, or mites are there, fleas, lice, and so on, then they get to be killed. So that is what we call a dipping. So we dip using what we call, or we dip in what we call the dip a tank. So this one is called a dip tank. So that is dipping animals in acaricides. Then apart from dipping and spraying using acaricides, what next? We should carry out what we call rotational grazing. Rotational grazing, especially actually when you talk about rotational grazing, when you go back to this word grazing, we have to understand this word grazing, right? What does it mean? Grazing is the proper use of pasture. Grazing is the proper use of pasture in the grassland, meaning that how does that grass in that pasture in the grassland being used? Meaning that you take that animal and they eat that grass. So that is grazing, proper use of pasture in a grassland by those animals. Now we have three methods of grazing. Now, one, there is what we call rotational grazing. There is what we call herding, and this herding is what we call free range or mulalo, moves with those animals. Now, another one is what we call zero grazing. Now, zero grazing are these animals, for them they are kept indoors. You build for them a corral, a shelter. They are there. They are indoors. Then herding, there is a man, the herdsman. Then rotational grazing, they keep moving, they keep rotating as they are grazing. Now, this rotational grazing is divided into three. One, there is what we call paddocking, paddock system. Then there is what we call strip grazing, and also there is what we call tethering. Tethering, as we discussed this word in our word bank. Now, paddocking, this is done when a person or a farmer has a large or a big piece of land and divides this piece of land into plots, and these plots are fenced permanently. You build fences, a permanent fence. Now, then this one becomes paddock 1, paddock 2, paddock 3, and 4. Then animals keep on rotating from paddock 1, they come to paddock 2, come to paddock 3, paddock 4, then they come back here. Are getting? Then strip grazing, it is similar to paddocking, but here we use strips. We use strip wires. So it's not permanent building. You can use barbed wires, so just like that you put on electricity. We use strips, strip wires. Now, how does this rotational grazing control external parasites? Now, if these animals keep on moving like this one, by the time the animal comes back, now maybe when the animal is grazing within here, then the parasites, they are at the egg stage. Then the animal leaves, enters paddock 2. Then these eggs are going to hatch, but remember they have to depend on the cattle. But now the animals are out of this, therefore these parasites are going to starve to death. Then meaning that this rotational grazing enables to control cattle parasites, external parasites, by doing what? By breaking down the life cycle of those parasites. Because how is it broken down? They are going to starve to death. So another method, that is practicing rotational grazing, as in paddocking, strip grazing, tethering. Then another method here, we should fence our farms. Fencing the farms. The farms should be fenced. Why should we fence the farms? In order to prevent the stray animals from getting in contact with our animals. Now, if our farm is just open like this one, then these animals from our neighbors, they can get contact or become into contact with our animals. Then as they are into contact, then they leave what we call other parasites within our animals. So to avoid that, we should put a fence. So fencing our farms. And next, we should burn all the old grasses. We should burn all the old grasses. Why? To kill all those ticks, because at one time these animals were here. Then what you do, you burn all that old grass. You burn that old grass. As you burn that one, you are killing, or you are controlling, or you are killing all the external parasites. We've said external parasites are the parasites that feed from outside the body of a host. And how do we control them? One, spraying using acaricides, dipping using acaricides in a deep tank, and dipping is the best method. Practicing rotational grazing, where we've looked at paddocking, strip grazing, and tethering. And how does this rotational grazing control that? By breaking down the life cycle of these pests or parasites, and also fencing our farms to avoid contact of these stray animals with our animals, and also burning all the grasses. Those are the external parasites, and those are the methods, some of the methods we can avoid them. And we have also another cheaper method. This is what we call deticking. Deticking, it means when animals come back, this one is done when a farmer does not have very many animals. Now when animals come back from grazing, when they have rested, then the farmer starts to pick those ticks as you are putting them them in fire. You pick them, you put them in fire. You pick them, you put them in what? In a fire. So those are the various ways of controlling external parasites as mites, ticks, fleas, lice, and the tsetse flies. Then these tsetse flies, they have a special way of controlling them, that is using tsetse fly nets. Using tsetse fly nets to trap tsetse flies in areas where they are infested with tsetse flies. So spraying using acaricides, dipping using acaricides, rotational grazing, fencing, burning all the grasses, detaking, and using tsetse fly traps to control external parasites. Now let us move on and we see what we call internal parasites. We remember we say that these internal parasites, they are also called endo parasites, and we've said that these internal parasites or endoparasites are the organisms or are living things or parasites that feed and get sheltered within the body, inside the body of what? Of the host. And now these internal parasites, they are mainly worms, like the roundy worms, we have the hook worms, we have the tapeworm worms, and we have the liver flukes. So these liver flukes are found in the liver of that animal and in the spleen. And actually these two, they are under flatty worms. Then these ones, they are under also the class of roundy worms. So these worms are controlled. How do you control them? One, by deworming. So we control these worms or internal parasites by deworming. And this deworming is done in two ways. One, we can carry out what we call drenching, or we can carry out what we call dosing. All of them are methods of deworming. Now when you look at this drenching, here, this is the act of giving an animal a liquid medicine in order to kill internal parasites or endoparasites. So drenching is the act of giving an animal liquid medicine, like those people in the villages, they get a bottle. After getting a bottle, they shake, then it dissolves, then they get this goat or they get this cow, they press the jaws then they pour the liquid inside there, then it goes there, then it is going to kill all those internal parasites. Now that method is called drenching. Now on a standard farm, when we are carrying out drenching, we use what we call a drenching gun. We use a drenching gun. Then another method of drenching, that is called dosing. And what is dosing? So dosing is the act of giving an animal solid medicine. Is the act of giving an animal a solid medicine in order to do what? In order to kill internal parasites. Just like that. So that is dosing. Now apart from deworming, how else should we control these internal parasites? We should provide our animals with clean water and feeds. With clean water and feeds. 3, we should clean the feeding troughs, the feeding troughs, and also the water troughs where they drink from, so that those worms, they don't lay eggs there, they don't hatch from there. And 3, we should destroy or we should burn the infected meat. Remember, we can get these tapeworms through eating infected meat. Now we should burn it. We should burn that meat of those animals that are infected. So these are some of the ways you can control the internal parasites. Then as our heading states, cattle parasites, pests, and diseases. Now these diseases that can attack cattle, we classify them into 3 classes according to the causatives. Now we have causatives, we mean germs. We have those are called viral diseases. Now these viral diseases are caused by a virus. We have the bacterial diseases, and these bacterial diseases are caused by the bacteria. And we also have what we call protozoan diseases, which are caused by the protozoa. Now let us start with the viral diseases here. So to remember these viral diseases, we use acronyms, mnemonics. Sorry, we use mnemonics. For example, you can use the word for. When I use this word for, I am abbreviating the viral diseases, and F is standing for a foot, and this O stands for the mouth. In the word O stands for the word mouth. So foot and mouth disease, so it is a viral disease. Then this R stands for the render pest. So these are the two viral diseases that can affect cattle. Then when we go to the bacterial diseases, always if we want to get the bacterial diseases, there are very many. We use what we call mama, fatuma, waba, pita. Now this is mama, this is fatuma, waba, Peter, then Talia. Now all of these ones are viral diseases, whereby M stands for the mastitis, which affects the udders of those animals. Then you have F. This F stands for the foot rot. Now don't confuse this F and F for foot and mouth. Foot and mouth, it is viral. Then foot rot, it is bacteria. Then when you go to this B, it is the brucellosis. Brucellosis, even this one can attack people. And again we have B, which is standing for the black quarter. This one stands for the black quarter. Then we have this P standing for pneumonia. Then we have another one, this T stands not tetanus, but it is standing for tuberculosis. Then again this A stands for anthrax. So these are bacterial diseases, these are viral diseases. Then again we have the protozoan diseases. To get the protozoan diseases, the acronym, the mnemonic we can use, it is HAGAN. HAGAN. Now when you look at this H, the first H stands for hearty water. When you go to this E, stands for East Coast fever, ECF. Then when you go to this R, don't confuse this R with this R for render pest. This one is red water. Red water. Then this G goes with the A together. This is gallbladder infection. And this N stands for Nagana. Now when you look at all these protozoan diseases are tick-borne diseases. We call them, meaning that they are spread by ticks, apart from one, this N, which is spread by the tsetse fly. So all these tick-borne diseases are protozoan diseases. They are spread by ticks and caused by a protozoa. Then when you look at this Nagana, it is for it spread by tsetse fly, and it is caused by a protozoan which is called the trypanosome. The trypanosome, that's why it's also called trypanosomiasis. So trypanosomiasis, let me write it here, trypanosomiasis. Alright, you've been a good learner, a wonderful learner. I always tell you, when you smile, you become wiser. So keep on that smile. Let us go to the activity. Number 1, mixed exercise. Alright, number 1. How useful is a beak to a hen? Name one cattle disease. One cattle disease caused by a virus. Number 3. Why do bees visit flowers? Number 4. Define the term parasite. Define the term parasite. Number 5. How best should farmers control parasites (ecto) on their farms? Which part of air is used in fire extinguisher? Number 7. Why Do farmers mulch their gardens? Name the injury caused by a dry heat. Oh, sorry, this word is dry, caused by a dry heat. Number 9, convert 100 degrees Celsius to degrees Fahrenheit. Number 10, write MCHC in full. Number 11, how useful are the cilia are found in our nose? Mention any 2 bacterial diseases that attack cattle. How does rotational grazing control external parasites? Name what scientific term? Each scientific term is used to describe the chemicals used to kill ectoparasites. How dangerous are parasites to animals? 16. Identify one sign of parasites. Parasites in animals. Number 17. Here in the space below, draw a white blood cell. 18. Why does blood go to the lungs? 19. How is the propagation of millet different from that of an onion? Cite one example of a rhizome. 20. Write down one property of air. Number 22. Which part of a mushroom produces spores? How is a moss similar to a mushroom? Similar to a mushroom. Define the term reproduction. 25. What is this? 26. I start. To which group of mammals? Does a bat belong? 28. Nine. Thirty. Okay, you've been a good learner. We'll meet in the next lesson.